Friends, put your hands together to welcome on stage Quizmaster Pig Brain.
Hello and a warm welcome to each and every one of you. You're with me, Pig Brain, here today on a quiz with a very big difference. Well, the difference is not that it's not about knowledge. The difference is about who we are quizzing with. You're so used to seeing me with school children. You're so used to seeing me with corporates. Here I am with some of the world's best teachers. Celebrating the world of educators here at the Teacher Tribe along with TCS Ion, we are bringing to life and helping take an idea global, something that was conceived and conceptualized many years ago by a wonderful educator, a teacher, a very passionate lady, Mrs. Ramaranganathan. A very passionate believer in the concept that teachers need to be treated like students, and everything that children do is something teachers should also do. She came up with this idea of an inter-school teachers quiz, and we are truly delighted that this has gone global. We've had close to 12,000 contestants, 11 countries, and we are now going to start the semi-final, which is for the top 16 from across the world. So we're going to get started with the first of our semi-final here on what we call Know It All, the World Teachers Quiz 2020. And to take us through this journey is a young colleague of mine, a teacher herself, an alumnus of NITK Surathkal. She taught there, came on board and decided to make hosting a part of her career. She's also the co-founder and the senior editor of the TeacherTribe.world, which drives this entire concept. And she's taken these contestants through a grueling round of quarterfinals. And here we are with the top four from those, or the first four from those quarterfinals in our first semi-final. So we'll get Rashmi to introduce them, and then we'll get her back to do a couple of rounds. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, over to my co-host who's logging in from a beautiful small town in the western coast of India called Mulki. All yours, Rashmi Furtado.
Thank you, Pig Brain. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first edition of the World Teachers Quiz Know It All by TeacherTribe.world. Our semi-finalists here today have gone through a grueling round of quarterfinal, and from 8 of them, we have now arrived at the first 4 for the first semi-final. We have many more to go, but here are the introductions of who these semi-finalists are. First up, we have Ms. Ambika Prabhu from Dr. Kalmari Shamarao High School, Pune. Following her, we have Ms. Bindu Nair from Johnson Grammar School, Mallapur. Next up, we have Ms. Maitri Bhattacharya from Tagore International School, Delhi. And completing our lineup, we have Mr. Vijay Krishna Rajgopal from Vidyaniketan Public School, Bangalore. Well, I'm sure they're well prepared. I request Pig Brain to take this forward.
Thank you, Rashmi. Thank you so much for introducing us to our 4 semi-finalists here today. From right across the length and breadth of India, we've got Bengaluru, Pune, Delhi and Hyderabad lining up in the first semi-final. And well, you're going to watch contestants from literally all across the world, but this is an India semi-final that is stacked up in this manner. But for the moment, time for us to pick action on the first frontier of Know It All. Before we get started here with the first of our rounds, let me explain the way we are going to play the game. I've got 20 questions for you, all on the buzzer in different rounds. We've got 5 rounds, each round with 4 questions. Now, the normal value of an answer is at 50 points. So when the question comes and you buzz, if you answer without any other addition, you get a 50. If you are super confident and you think you're perfectly sure you know the answer, you got to say, I want to play the know-it-all card, or you can just say, I want to play a double. if you are confident, you have the right to double the value of your answer, which means 50 can fetch you 100. The caveat, if you get it wrong on a normal, minus 50. You get it wrong on a double, minus 100. So play the game carefully. Well, it's like we teach our children in school. You are allowed to be smart, but if you are over smart, you're in trouble. It's as simple as that. The law applies to our educators too. So 50 if you get it right, minus 50 if you get it wrong. My recommendation is take a moment after you buzzed, assess whether you want to play a double or not, because the doubles could be important for you in the event of you making some mistakes. Only one attempt allowed on the buzzer. Whoever hits the buzzer first gets to play first. If we are all set, we know the rules, it's time for us to get started. The rules remain the same across all the 20 questions. We pick action on the first frontier around the world. Here it comes. All right. That then the first frontier of our battle coming up for you. All hands on the buzzer. 1 gentleman, 3 ladies. That's been the thumb rule most of our quarterfinals and semi-finals are witnessing. Thankfully, and it's perhaps, I don't know, a reason for it or an explanation for it, somehow school and college quizzing is dominated by boys and not by girls. And I always get asked as a quiz master, why are there more boys than girls in quizzing? We probably needed a teacher's quiz to set that right. We've completely set that right with this quiz because you've got the men completely being outnumbered, including today, which is 2 gentlemen, me and Vijay, with Rashmi joining the other 3 ladies in our semi-final. For now, if all of you are ready, hands on the buzzer, starting with the first one, 50 and 100, the value that you can play. On your screen, here it comes. If Tokyo 2020 had happened as scheduled, these would have been the medals. What was special about the manufacturing of these medals? Maitreyi from Delhi has buzzed first. Go ahead. What do you think is the answer?
Okay, so can I go for a double?
You can go for a double, yes.
Yeah. So it is smartphone e-waste.
It's what?
It is gold from smartphone e-waste.
All these are medals made out of e-waste. 100 to Maitreyi on that one. She's played the sort of know-it-all card, if I should call it that, and got herself a double. As we go to the next one on your screens now. The Jules Verne restaurant is a famous one. It's at a very different height. Where would you be if you were at the Jules Verne restaurant? Vijay Rajagopal from Bangalore has gone for it. Would request you to switch on your mic, Vijay, before you answer that. And if you are playing a double on that as well.
80th floor.
No, are you playing a double on that?
No.
You're not playing a double on that. Where do you think is this located geographically?
80th meridian.
The 80th meridian. Well, he gets a minus 50. He did not play the extra card, but that was careful of him. And he gets a minus 50 on that. You actually look in the background, you'll see a small, slight yellow color there. And the answer that I was looking for is the Eiffel Tower. On the Eiffel Tower, you will find the Jules Verne restaurant. And what a beautiful place to sit and have a cup of coffee and make a hole in your pocket. Well, a deep one at that. As we move to the next one, on your screens now. This is a huge monument of a leader, a conqueror, well, a great man in history, great being a relative term. Who's this person on the horse? It's located in Ulaanbaatar. Ambika has gone for it. She's first on the buzzer. Vijay was right after her. Ambika, ma'am, Your mic on, please. Are you playing
think
a
it's-
double or are you playing at 50?
At 50.
At 50, okay.
I think it is the Mongolian, Genghis Khan.
Oh, perfectly correct. She'll get herself a 50. Genghis Khan, just in the nick of time. As we go to the next one on your screens now. In the olden days, when the horses pulled the carriages, there was a wooden board that was used to separate the horses from the carriage, because the hoofs of the horses would throw up a lot of dirt and could spoil potentially your dress. So this wooden board remained when horse-drawn carriages evolved and became cars. Even today, our modern cars carries this part. How do we know this wooden board in our cars today? The same word continues to be applied. In the olden days, it was called something. In the modern world, it's called the same thing. Ambika on the buzzer again. Go ahead, ma'am.
The cow catcher.
Oh, minus 50 to you. Well, the answer, and you're going to smile when you hear the answer, is the dashboard in a car. Well, the dashboard in a car actually comes from the horse carriages, and the dashboard was supposed to prevent mud and dirt. I did not use the word mud because that would have made you think mud guard, and I didn't want to lead you into a wrong answer. So, tricky first round here today, and I tell you what, we've got a very interesting scenario. We've got Maitre on 100, we've got Vijay on minus 50, Ambika has gained 50 and lost 50, while Bindu is yet to score, but they are okay on that. Vijay, the only one on a negative. Early days in the first frontier of this game, and we're going to move on to the second frontier of our game here today, which we call Vintage World. Here it comes. All right. On the Vintage World, let me bring back my young colleague Rashmi Furtado from Mulki to take us through the second and third round of our final here today. Quiz, early days, anything can happen from here. I think the strategies are going to be important. Over to you, Rashmi.
Thank you, Big Brain. Well, teachers, the second round here today, Vintage World. And as the name suggests, I would have questions for you about structures which are quite, vintage, and also probably somehow connected to structures or anything that has been around this world for many, many years. All right, the scoring pattern remains the same, and the buzzer rules also remain the same. So there's no change in that, so no confusions. Let's move on to the second round, Vintage World. Question number 1, you will have images on your screen. I would have corresponding questions. However, if you do not want to wait for me to read out the question and you can give me the answer just by looking at the image, it's up to you. You can completely press the buzzer and continue to give me the answer. Although, if you press the buzzer, even before I complete my question, I will stop reading the question right there. So those rules also remain exactly the same. Let's move on to question number 1 of this round. Here we go. Identify this structure. It's a structure from the medieval times. Nobody going on the buzzer there. A structure from medieval times. I think we are, as global citizens, aware of few of the structures or the older structures that are there, and not really gone in depth to figure out how many others are there out there. All right, no one going on the buzzer. I think this was a tough one. Semi-final, of course, the questions would start becoming a little tougher. The answer I was looking for, the Prague astronomical clock. It's an astronomical clock from the medieval times. I can see teachers just tapping their forehead. I think they knew the answer, but were not able to connect it to the visual on their screen. This is a clock from somewhere around 1410. So it's from the medieval times. proud astronomical clock. Moving on to question number 2 on your screen. Here we go. Who would you associate to this aircraft? It says, all right, Miss Ambika on the buzzer. Yes, ma'am, you can unmute yourself and speak.
Amelia Earhart.
Amelia Earhart. It says Spirit of St. Louis. Unfortunately, that's a minus 50, ma'am. Since you did not go for a double, I'm assuming it's a minus 50. Well, the answer I was looking for was Charles Lindbergh. He was an American aviator. Yes. I think now she says, oh, I'm pretty sure she knew the person, but was not able to connect it to the visual here on screen. All right. That's a minus 50 for her. Ma'am, could you unmute yourself, please? Great, thank you. Moving on to question number 3. First 2 questions of this round being a little tougher for our semi-finalists. Let's see what happens. Question number 3 on your screen. This is an electric boat. All right, Mr. Vijay on the buzzer there, not allowing you to complete the question. Yes, sir. So you need to unmute yourself, please.
I think it's the Enigma.
Enigma. The risk of not allowing your host to complete the question. Unfortunately, a minus 50 since he did not go for a double. The question was, this is an electronic vote recorder that was used to speed up voting process. Who invented it? The answer I was looking for, Thomas Alva Edison. If he had just waited for me, I'm pretty sure he would have known the answer. Well, Thomas Alva Edison has many inventions under his kitty, this being one of them. So could you mute yourself, please? All right, thank you. Moving on to the last question of this round, question number 4 on your screen. This is a cannon known as the 9 o'clock gun. Where in this world is it located? Miss Ambika on the buzzer is pretty quick. Yes, ma'am.
Sydney Harbour.
Sydney Harbour. I think she somehow looked at the background there and said Sydney Harbour. Minus 50 again. The answer I was looking for was Vancouver. Vancouver is the answer I was looking for. Somehow, the vintage world seems to be a difficult round. Nobody scoring in positives and in fact taking negatives in this round. Let's move on to the next round of this quiz. Let's see what happens. Moving on, round 3, world of people. Here we go. Ambika ma'am, I need you to mute your mic. So sorry, I would have to keep reminding you all to do that. All right. As this round suggests, world of people, so you know what kind of questions might come up for you. Keep in mind that these questions are not only about people that are probably around for real. It could be people from fiction as well. So keep that in mind when I say people. Moving on, the scoring pattern remains the same. Buzzer rules remain the same. Make sure you let me know before you answer if you are going in for a double or not. Question number 1 on your screen. Here we go. What is special about the Singapore airline hostesses, or where are they located? Or where can you find these Singapore airline hostesses? It's a specific establishment as an answer that I'm looking for. There's a logical connect that you can make. I said a specific establishment that I'm looking for, not the name of a location, as in not the geographical location. All right, no one going in for the buzzer. Anybody who would just like to take a shot at it? No points.
Sky Flyer.
No, the answer I was looking for here was Madame Tussauds. So wax museum that we have. This is a wax statue that is there in Madame Tussauds. Well, that's the reason I said the specific establishment that I was looking for and not necessarily a geographic location. All right, moving on to the next question of this round. Here we go. This is Alice Liddell, the daughter of the dean at Christ Church College, Oxford University. She was the inspiration for which famous novel? Miss Ambika going on the buzzer? Yes, ma'am.
Alice in the Wonderland.
I wish you had taken a double for this, but plus 50, you're absolutely right. Alice in Wonderland is the answer I was looking for. Just hold on for a moment. Think if you're confident about the answer, take a double. You could have very easily negated the minus scores that you had taken. So just take a moment before you answer to take a decision if you want to take a double or not. The answer I was looking for, Alice in Wonderland, and she got it absolutely right. Moving on to the next question, question number 3 on your screen. Here we go. Identify this great man who introduced the concept of traveler's check. A great travel company is named after him. All right, Miss Ambika going there on the buzzer first. Yes, ma'am. A double?
I'll go for a double. Yeah.
Double. Yes, now we goes for a double. Go on, ma'am.
Thomas Cook.
Thomas Cook plus 100 to you. You're absolutely right. Thomas Cook, the answer I was looking for. And yes, he was the one who first invented traveler's check. Well, I think that was a great invention at that point in time. Well, she gets a plus 100 on that. Last question of this round on your screen. Here we go. She is the first lady. Okay, they do not allow me to complete the question. I think that only speaks about their confidence levels. Mr. Vijay, first one on the buzzer. Go on, sir.
I think she is King Jong-un's sister.
Oh, I just wish you would have. I think you did not listen to me when I said first lady. You got the country right, but she's his wife. So minus 50 on that. I said first lady. I think you missed the first lady that I said in the mentioned in the question. He got the country right, but he unfortunately said sister of instead of saying wife. So a minus 50 on that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have now completed the second and the third round of the semi-final. On the other side of this break, Big Brain will tell you the scores and then move on to the next round of the quiz.
Ladies and gentlemen, 3 rounds done here today in this fantastic World Teachers Quiz 2020 called Know It All. It's really getting interesting with Maitre holding on to that 100 but not really pushing the buzzer. She's hitting the buzzer but not getting ahead of the others. And Ambika is the one who's really progressing. She has got herself both on the know-it-all front and on the normal front, as you can see on that scorecard on your screen. While Vijay Rajagopal, the principal from Bangalore, has got 3 negatives, one after the other. He is on minus 150 and seems to be running this race in a slightly different direction. But here today, on plus 50, after being on minus 100, getting that know-it-all in at the right moment, playing the double, Ambika in the positive, right behind Maitre. The next 2 rounds are going to be super exciting. You watch as we progress. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Rashmi, for those couple of rounds. I tell you what, the battle really hasn't gone too far, though we've had a lot of people scoring and missing. Therefore, it hasn't gone too far forward. I still feel anybody can really win from here even now. Moving on to the next frontier of our game, with this game, in my opinion, still sort of evenly poised as we move to a very special round which we call What's the Good Word? Here it comes. Well, as a generation of teachers, all of us played this as students. Unfortunately, the game seems to have vanished from our schools and colleges these days. So we're going to give you clues where the answer is going to be a one-word answer. So the world has the L in grey because we're focusing on the word in the world. And all you got to tell me is buzz and tell me what's the good word. So if you are ready, I'm going to show you a description, and on the description you will get the number of letters in your answer. So you can actually calculate that. For example, if the answer is the word world, you would have got 5 boxes on your screen. So just keep an eye on that and then crack the buzzer. The hundreds may be required, especially for Vijay, if he has to make a comeback from where he is. But then those are strategic decisions. If he had played the hundreds, he could have been worse off than where he is. So he'll have to hedge and play his game accordingly, while Maitri and Ambika will keep watching that scorecard very, very closely. We start with the first one. Hands on the buzzer, eyes on your screen. Here we go. This word has its roots in ancient Greece. Rich families had many servants, often slaves, one of whom would be specifically asked to look after the children. The word starts with the letter P, P as in pig brain, is very commonly used in schools and colleges. It actually comes from a person allocated to take care of a child. It evolved to define a generic framework for children. And therefore, the P word defines what we do for our children. What in education are we talking about? It's a very important word in education, the very root and genesis of how we equip our children comes from slaves taking care of children in ancient Greece. None of our teachers on the buzzer, tough one for an easy word that you use almost every day. The answer, oh, Ambika on the buzzer. Just in the nick of time. Yes, Ambika. Mic on, please. Yes, 50 or 100. Yeah?
Parenting.
Parenting. Minus 50 to you. Bindu is on the buzzer, but late on the buzzer. Bindu, you still want to try? No points. Switch on your mic.
Is it pedagogy?
Pedagogy or pedagogy is walking a child. She's perfectly correct. The word pedagogy means taking a child forward. And that is what a pedagogy is supposed to do. Look at how interesting the backgrounds of these are. The next one on your screen, interesting one from something so commonly seen in your schools and institutions. On your screen now. What is this metal part called? It holds the pencil to the eraser. It's a word starting with the letter F. Where all researchers like us search for questions. Maitreyi has gone for it. Yes, Maitreyi. On your mic.
Is it ferrule?
A ferrule will give you a 50. You did not play 100, but a 50 nonetheless to you. Well played on that one. That's a beautiful answer. All right, here's the next one coming as she moves to 150. The quiz is going to get tight. On the next one on your screen, hands on the buzzer. You just might want to keep your hands there from now because you might want to be fast. On your screen, now. It's one word for circle of learning in Greek. It starts with a E. It actually means learning in entirety. And therefore, all of us sometimes buy it or refer to it. Vijay Rajagopal, will he play 100? He needs a few big ones. It's a big word for something we buy or refer to. Are you playing 100?
Double.
Double. He's playing a double on that. 100. He's taking the risk.
Encyclopedia.
Oh, well played. Encyclopedia will get him 100. And circle of learning brings him back closer to where he began. He's now on a minus 50, but he needs to play the big ones to get himself back. On the next one, on your screen, hands on the buzzer. Here we go. It's Latin for small pebbles, like those used in abacus. it actually gives you the word for something commonly used in the world of math. It actually means small pebbles. And that was the logic behind using small pebbles in abacus. What word in math are we talking about? Maitrey has gone for it.
Calculus.
Calculus. You want to fit it into that? I need a correct answer.
Calculous.
Oh, well, you've got to make it fit. -50, Maitrey. Well, calculus evolves from that, so I can't give it to you. The word, because we're talking of exact words, is calculate. The word calculate comes from putting pebbles together, because what you did in an abacus was to calculate the answer. -50
Give
to
me half.
you.
At least I got some of it.
Well, if we do introduce negotiation in quiz shows, I'll consider the half point. But for now, you are like a child answering beyond what is required. So a -50, I will have to be particular on what's the good word, because we're playing a word and I can't change the word for context. Though I would encourage that as an educator. For the moment, one final frontier coming up here, and I tell you what, this game is far from over. It's nervous, it's close, it's tight. Bindu has her answers, but she's not buzzing before the others. Ambika has been gaining and losing, and if she has to draw a graph of her performance here, it's going to look like a sine cos curve. Well, she's gone up, she's gone down, she's all over the place on this quiz, and she says, how did I manage to remain at 0 after all this effort? Vijay Rajagopal on -50 will have to play really aggressive if he has to get forward. Maitrey Bhattacharya from Delhi is in the lead, but she's back to the 100 that she got early on. So everyone's giving the other room to come back as we move into the final frontier of our game here today. The first ever semi-final of Know It All. It's time to play on the world of education. Here it comes. All right, 4 final questions which will determine who goes into the world final of this quiz. It's really neck and neck, and the last 4 questions are pretty much going to decide who it's going to be. On the first one, on your screen, here it comes. The classification of educational goals was a hypothesis he presented to the world. It created a taxonomy that became a Bible. Vijay Rajagopal, will he play another 100 on this one?
Double.
Everyone's trying
Double,
to buzz. Yes. How much are you playing?
Bloom.
How much are you
Bloom.
playing, Vijay?
Double.
Double. Okay, you said double. Yes.
Benjamin Bloom.
Benjamin Bloom, and the taxonomy would be Bloom's taxonomy. He's got that absolutely right. Oh, he's got 100. He's coming back into the green and he's smiling because he's brought himself back from that red into the green, and he's 50 on that scorecard now. As we go to the next one, hands on the buzzer, on your screens now. Identify this huge institution of learning. Vijay Rajagopal again. Will he play another 100? He's playing big. Double or no?
Double, please.
Double again. Oh.
Harvard.
Oh, very, very well played. Veritas is the one word which describes the principle and the ethos behind Harvard University. Well, is this the tipping point of the quiz? From minus 150, like a true school kid, Vijay Rajagopal has played absolutely aggressive and got himself back to 150. Well, 2 questions to go. Maitri for the first time is lagging behind. She's played a safe approach to the quiz, and I'm reasonably sure she knew far more answers than she attempted. But, well, she's now thinking, like all kids, she's thinking back. And 2 questions to go. Here's the next one on your screens now. This is an illustration of a great talk. Vijay Rajagopal again. Is he going to play an 100 again?
Double.
Do schools kill creativity? Yes, Vijay.
Ken Robinson.
Oh, fantastic. He's got it absolutely right. He's playing 100 after 100 after 100. Ken Robinson. Could we have had a semi-final that does not pay a tribute to a phenomenal educator who we will long remember even after he is not with us? What a gentleman. It's perhaps one educator who really made TED Talks for education of great relevance, because he was competing with all the superstars, with the kind of people who were following his TED Talks even today after he's not with us. And his philosophy will continue to remain and guide us. But that's an outstanding answer on 250. One question to go, and well, Vijay seems to have played the 100s also equally with amount of clarity and brilliance. He just seems to be ahead of the rest with one question to go. The final one on your screens now. This young man, Vijay Rajagopal. Well, if I were to describe your performance in this quiz, I would call you the Kumbhakaran of know-it-all. He slept through the first half and he's all abuzz in the final. Yes, Vijay, what do you think? And are you playing 100 again?
Double.
Double again.
Sal Khan.
Sal Khan. And where would you associate him to?
Khan Academy.
Outstanding. Oh, our first champion is a young principal of a school from Bengaluru. Vijay Krishna Rajagopal has done the unthinkable with 250, taking him to 350. Oh boy, did he play the game like an IPL, blazing through in the final frontier. Maitre, well, he receives a huge applause from the other teachers, which is really nice, because the objective is to celebrate teachers. What a dramatic final we witnessed here today. Well, playing that advantage of a double to the T, perhaps telling himself, what have I got to lose? And sometimes when you play the game with that attitude, look at that graphic coming up on your screen. 100, 100, 100 and 100. That's a clean sweep, playing all four know-it-all cards in the final frontier. The young principal from Bengaluru doing the unthinkable, leaving Maitre on that 100, and I'm sure she's thinking, well, I should have played a few more on the buzzer a little earlier. But a dramatic comeback by Vijay Rajagopal from Bengaluru. He's really driven himself on the power of those doubles in the final frontier. And if I look at that graph, look at the way he surges ahead towards the end, it's almost like what an MS Dhoni would do in a T20, isn't it? It's so reflective of that. Sweeping this quiz towards the end is our principal from Bengaluru, and look at that curve going right up north on the final frontier. But at the end of the day, I think it's about enjoying knowledge, celebrating knowledge, and being proud of the fact that we are educators who touch the lives of many other children. That's the important part in a quiz like this. It's not about whether we know it all or we don't know it all. It's about sharing what we know, which is what makes us wonderful as educators. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, on the first semi-final of Know It All, the World Teachers Quiz, going into the world final, in the top four of this world, Vijay Krishna Rajagopal, the principal of Vidyaniketan Public School from Bengaluru, and he will certainly compensate for the lack of men who have participated in this quiz by registering a presence of a gentleman in the big final. He will be joined by three more finalists, and we will uncover who they are as we progress into the other semi-finals. For now, from my young colleague Rashmi and from me, Big Brain, to all of you taking part in this quiz, till we come back to you with the semi-final, for now, thank you so much for tuning in. Goodbye, take care, and keep enjoying your lives as wonderful educators.